Why isn't this showing up on YouTube? YouTube. Aha. So we are live on YouTube. And my computer's taken off. Hello to everybody. Yeah, tell me about it, Irrelevant. You can thank the algorithm for that. Why it's taken so long to get 100k. Thanks for the congrats. I'm on HP. Krish or Krish. Yeah, no worries, Jeff. Thanks, bud. Good morning to everyone in the UK. I was going to go live at 11, but I wanted to test this out first, and then it just went live. So it just ran with it. No, it is not the beard shaving stream. I would barely even consider that for 1 million, let alone 100k. Yeah, Gran Turismo 4 is my favourite game in the series, mate. Is my PS4 on? No, that's the computer. If I move the microphone more this way, is the sound any better now? Is it any quieter? I still play GT7, but I play GT7 mostly because of YouTube. If it weren't for the channel, I wouldn't play anywhere near as much. No change. Yeah, it's a problem with the fan. Well, it's not a problem with the fan, it's just the computer is a HP Touch Smart, because I only use it to do, you know, simple editing and stuff, so I don't game on PC anyway, so I've never had a particularly advanced computer. I should probably change that, but do I think free roam would suit GT7? I don't think it would suit GT7, but I think it could suit Gran Turismo in general. I'd love to see a free roaming Gran Turismo game. I'm just going to post on the Discord. I've actually, to answer Go So Fly, I've been thinking of going back onto GT6 and playing a bit. Because I miss a ton of the cars on that game. Cadillac or Lincoln? Well, I own a Lincoln, not a Cadillac. Overall, as a brand, I prefer Cadillac. But if I could swap my Lincoln for a Cadillac, I would keep the Lincoln. Yeah, I know, name. That's the fan on the computer. Not much I can do about that. Yep, career mode is essential, in my opinion at least. That was the whole point of my semi-rant the other day. Am I going to continue Rivals? I do have at least one Rivals episode planned for GT7. I want to do a showdown between the F1500 and McLaren MP44. Pit lane glitch. Hi, disappeared. How would you react if the pit lane glitch came? I feel like any glitch in this game is going to get dealt with quite quickly, so probably wouldn't that matter that much. Do I have any hot takes? Well, I guess the first one that comes to mind would be one that my girlfriend isn't a fan of, or a lot of the people on the Discord, including Maverick, who runs it. I don't like McLaren. That's one of my hot takes, I guess. I'm not a McLaren fan. I think they've been making the same car for about 15 years now, and they need to actually change it up. I think Bugatti have fallen into the same problem, and so have Lamborghini. Basically, every Lamborghini since the Aventador is just an Aventador with a different body on it. Well, that's the way it looks to me. And everything since the Veyron just looks like an evolution of the Veyron. Chiron, even the Bolide, they all kind of have that same shape. I guess Pagani is kind of guilty as well, but I don't know. The Huayra seems somehow different to the Zonda. My favourite car is also my dream car, the Ferrari FF. If I could only own one car, it would be that. In blue, with a tan interior and a Novitec Rosso F1 exhaust. How many people have we got watching, actually? 24 people at the moment. Yeah, it is Saturday, I guess. Hello, Ness. And I just got cancelled. Oh, funnily enough, I'm actually I'm not really a huge fan of the F12. It's mostly the back end on the F12 that doesn't do it for me. It's got that like weird Y shape in the diffuser. I don't really like that. Exactly, Mazda. I actually do like the McLaren 12C. I think the 12C is a genuinely good car because it was nothing like the McLaren F1. But then they thought like, oh, this is great, and then just kind of kept doing it. Favourite racing game of all time? Ooh. Got to be Gran Turismo 4, I think. Yeah, it would be between Gran Turismo 4, Forza Motorsport 4, or Test Drive Unlimited. How's the Lincoln been? It's been really good, mate. There are two things I need to do to it. One, I've already started trying to fix myself, and I've kind of procrastinated on it a bit. The passenger side electric window isn't closing. I think it needs a new motor. I've disassembled the whole door and everything. It's actually quite fun to do it. But somebody looks like they've tried to do it before, and they've stripped the screws, so I can't get the screws out. So I'm going to have to either grind out the screws or get somebody with better tools than I've got to get it out. And the other thing is, it cruises just fine, but ever since I bought it, it struggles when you really give it some power. And it struggles a bit up hills as well, and it shouldn't be. So I think the carburettor needs a little bit of fine-tuning. I think it may, based on the Lincoln workshop manual, I think I may have an issue with the fuel floats in the carburettor. Because the floats are supposed to, I think it's lift, if I recall correctly, and allow fuel through when you open up the throttle. And I think they're lifting enough to cruise, but they're not lifting enough to let a lot of fuel. So it'll cruise fine, but then when you really floor it, the fuel immediately backs up, and it kind of sputters and judders a little bit. Sounds very annoying. But it drives fine most of the time. It's great. It's my favourite car I've ever had. If it did 20 miles per gallon, I'd use it every day, but it doesn't. GT6 defined the channel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, GT6 was pretty much the entire channel for the best part of at least 2 years. Japanese version. Well, yeah, I mean, you say the cars are more expensive, but to be fair, I think you also earn more credits, don't you? Because it's not that the cars are more expensive, it's that the unit of currency is different. Isn't that correct? It's based more on, like, yen rather than dollars or whatever, so you do earn more as well. Why don't I like Gran Turismo 3 as much? I don't know. I think Gran Turismo 3 to me just feels... It feels very small to me. I know the career mode is a decent size, but like as soon as you go into Gran Turismo 3, like the map is just really small. There's so many less cars because it's on the new console. I don't know, it just feels very restricted to me. And one of my favourite things about Gran Turismo is always how big it feels. I don't really think the graphics hold up very well. It's super cartoonish and really like in-your-face colours. Hi, Indian Superman. I haven't played Need for Speed Heat. The last Need for Speed I was really into was Carbon. Thanks, Alex. Technically, we're over 100k now anyway. It's like 100,025 or something. But yeah, we'll see how it goes from now. We've far surpassed my prediction, though. I predicted that we would end 2022 with 96,000. So we're well ahead of that. Barely halfway through the year. So we may end the year with closer to, I don't know, 110, 120,000. Thanks. Is it Yuri or Luri? I think it's Yuri. Porsche Gran Turismo. You mean the Porsche Forza crossover that I did? The secret Porsche? Yeah. I love doing those videos. And my haters love those videos as well, because they love to say that I'm just a clickbait creator, and they always cite those videos which are clearly made as a joke. Current state of car design, for the most part, completely boring, mate. I think that more manufacturers need to bring back classic and vintage cars, and just put modern powertrains underneath. Because, I mean, think about it. What would you rather buy? Would you rather buy something that looks like a Lucid Air or a Tesla Model S? Or would you rather buy something that looks like a Dodge Charger from the Dukes of Hazzard days that happens to be electric? To me, there's not really much contest. Or in my case, an electric Lincoln, I guess. Grand Valley, yeah, I hope that comes to the game. Although, funnily enough, I didn't mention this on the channel, so I'll talk about it now. The guy who leaked those, the data miner who leaked the circuits, and I believe it was the same guy who leaked the cars, but I could be wrong there. He tried to backtrack it on Twitter, like calling me out, but not actually tagging me, because apparently he didn't have the balls to do that. But saying that, oh no, people are taking this out of context for the sake of views, this is old news, the tracks were only just a line and it's likely not going to come to the game. Never mind the fact that the cars that were leaked came from that same time, and they are consistently coming to the game. And also how it's convenient that people blame me for talking about that news, when the guy who actually leaked it is like, oh no, I was wrong. And everyone's like, oh sure, that's fine. You can really see people's bigotry at play. But I do hope Grand Valley comes, and if and when Grand Valley does arrive in Gran Turismo 7, I will be expecting a written apology on Twitter, which I won't get, but... yeah, no worries, Guido. Rivals is better. Better than what, Kiasha? Better than what? Dustin, Eden, or Rowdy? I'm guessing those are YouTubers, but I don't have a clue who either of those names are. Congrats, thanks Michael. Fellow Mike, most oversaturated name in the world, just like mine. Newest cars. Honestly, actually no, I don't care about getting the newest cars. I would much rather have cars that are really cool. To me, that's what Forza does really well. You know, say what you will about Forza, but they have so many different obscure manufacturers like Gumpert, Ascari, Mosler. I love that kind of stuff. Favorite YouTuber? My favorite YouTuber is, or technically it's a duo, Rhett and Link. You know, Good Mythical Morning. But to do with racing, honestly, I don't follow any other racing channels. I'm aware of other channels. Some other channels have commented on my stuff. The Slap Train commented on one of my videos years ago. Super GT agreed with one of my rants years ago. Numerous other things. And I'm aware of them, but I deliberately don't watch them because I don't want to be inspired by anyone else. Thanks GTMR, but my favourite YouTuber to do with driving, that's the closest I could get to answering that question, would be Jay Leno's Garage, I think, because he kind of reminds me of what I like to do with beards and cars. Less of a car review and more like a little history lesson about a cool vehicle. Hi from Canada. You and Ness, mate. I don't know about anyone else. Nice to see some Canada folks here. Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything by waiting for GT7 to come down, though. From what I hear on the PS4, it's pretty decent. HSG, to answer you, Alex. HSG used to stand for Hammer Studios Gaming, which is, this channel was, originally I called it Dower 962 Road Car, back when the channel wasn't anything. Then I called it Hammer Studios, then Hammer Studios Gaming, because obviously Hammer Studios makes horror movies. So I changed it to Hammer Studios Gaming, then HSG Automotive, just to make it look a bit cleaner. And now, because my dad passed away at the end of 2019, I decided to change it to honour his name. So now it's, my surname is Hammer, or Hamer. So his name was Stephen George Hamer. So now it's Hamer Stephen George, as a tribute to my dad. Yeah, I don't do many movie reviews on HSG Unlimited. I did do a video recently about saving a sheep on there, though. For those who don't know, HSG Unlimited is the second channel, much, much smaller. Kind of a wacky channel. Hey, Rizzo. Hey, from Japan. Very cool. The McMurtry looked very cool at Goodwood. I saw it at Goodwood. I went this year, flying up the hill. Kind of like a modern-day Chaparral 2J in some ways. I think it's cool. It looks wacky. It looks like a real-life version of a road trip adventure car. But yeah, I mean, you can't argue with what it could do. Very cool. Most difficult car to drive? I don't know. I don't know what I'd say the most difficult is. I can't really... I'm not thinking of any at the moment that are super difficult to drive. I know there are one or two. Maybe something like... I don't think any of the cars are difficult to drive, but cars can be difficult to get the best out of. So I'd say maybe like the Chaparral laser car, because, you know, learning to use that correctly can be a challenge. Oh, we've got more people. I've got to keep up with these comments. Most Wanted, Need for Speed. Oh, what do you think, Lil Bobber? You think Most Wanted is the best Need for Speed? I didn't play Most Wanted that much. Friends of mine were super into it. I was always more of a Carbon guy. Replica builds. Funny you should say that. I actually have a couple of special projects on the way. I don't do as many replicas anymore. I tend to like doing more like customs. Like I did that fictional Alfa Romeo 8C GTA build. I've got more like that on the way. Greetings from Finland. Very cool. Greetings to you too. Oh, where's the chat gone? What have I planned for the special? Honestly, mate, I'm so disillusioned with YouTube in general. I don't have anything specific planned apart from I'm doing this live stream just to hang out and chill. I'm doing a parody style video for Beards and Cars wherein I'm finally going to review my beard. I have no idea what that video is actually going to, you know, be because I don't have a script or anything for it. I don't use scripts anyway, but I haven't planned what I'm going to do. But yeah, it's just going to be a stupid little video. I don't really do racing online because you can get so few people in a race that it just doesn't seem fair. Best racing game on the 360, Forza Motorsport 4, hands down in my opinion. Thanks Ryoko. Is YouTube my only job? No, it isn't. I actually have my fingers in many different pies, but YouTube is one of the main ones. I actually do a couple of different jobs using YouTube, but One of them is I run a channel for a different business, and do like work that's kind of on YouTube but not at the same time. Will I do more of Unsolved Mysteries? I might. I mean, I did one more recently on HSG Unlimited about the diary of an asylum patient. I don't even remember what I wrote in that video anymore because it's been so long, but I do like to do those, because those are basically like free versions of my books. My favourite vid. What's my favourite vid? I think my favourite vid that I can think of recently might be the video essay that I did about Test Drive Unlimited. I really like how that one came out, and I'm quite proud of that, because it's such an important game to me. How did me and Kiasha meet? She just found me. Honestly, she found me completely randomly. She was looking up a random name finder for Snapchat, found me, added me, and then we just started talking. What's the next car to review? I'm not sure, Ness, because obviously I did the Plymouth yesterday. I feel like by the time I do one, it'll probably be the next update, in which case it'll be whatever that is. But I do need to do the Wicked Ford GT. But for now, I don't know. I don't think I have any waiting. But the most obvious one would be the GT51, because I've done the, obviously, gameplay video, as you well know, you being you. But no, I haven't reviewed it. Do I follow Formula 1? No, but Kiasha does. She absolutely adores Formula 1. I only know about it at all, really, because of her talking to me about it. I love the technology, but I just don't care for the sport. Greetings from Malaysia. Very cool. Thanks, Saf. Yeah, the Lambo is... Yeah, that's true, Ness. Especially, like with the Chaparral, it's difficult to get it right, because it's so weird. Do I like WRC? Not so much these days. I love the Skoda Fabia era, you know, like the 2004, 2005 WRC games kind of era, because they were such cool cars. The Hyundai Accent, the Skoda Fabia. Finland, cool. Midnight Club LA. LA, I don't like as much as 3. Midnight Club 3 Remix is my favourite, you know, dub edition. LA I like, but not quite as much. Hey... Seer, will I go back to doing original vids? Somebody kind of asked that earlier on. I'll do it when I think up a story, but for those who like my stories and want to check out longer ones, I actually have books, like actual books, and they take like 40 to 60 minutes to read, and they're all on Amazon. I've written 3 so far. Buddy, which is about a kid at school who meets a much older friend who encourages him to deal with bullies in a very violent way. My second book is called Spore, which is about a girl who's at an illegal rave who ends up in the back of a police car and then has to fight off a monster. And then the third one, which I wrote not that long ago, is called Those That Remain, which is about a group of survivors after the zombie apocalypse, and they're down to the last survivor, and he has to choose whether or not to try an experimental drug on himself. But he's also kind of a coward, so it's about his internal struggle of trying to decide what to do. Visiting the States. I have visited the States in the past. I went to Texas. I would love to go back again because... Alright, pipe down, Kiasha. Forza's dead. I know you think Forza's dead. I would love to come back to the States. Specifically, I want to go to Louisiana, because Louisiana is where the company Marine Turbine Technologies is based, and they make my favourite vehicle of all time, the Y2K, which is, for those who don't know, a motorcycle that has a helicopter engine. It's a turbine-engined bike that redlines at like 60,000 RPM. It's the fastest bike ever made. And they're based in Louisiana. I commented on one of their Facebook posts ages ago and said I'd love to review your bike, and they said let's do it. So I'd love to do that. I have no idea when though. The ride comfort on the Beard. Yeah, good question, Mazda. I guess you'd have to ask Kiasha about that one. What group would... the Toyota... Well, the Toyota would have to be Group 1. It would either have to be Group 1 or have no group, but Group 1 would make sense. 24-hour race. I have, but it was in Gran Turismo 5, I think, the last time I did that, and I think it was on B-Spec, so it was sped up. It takes like 8 hours or whatever, I think. Or whatever. It was Gt4 or 5. I don't recall what the race was or what I used, but yeah. Do I like Kias and Dehus? Not old ones, really. I'm sure I could find one that I do like, but I'm still not really a Dehu fan. In fact, Dehu isn't really a thing anymore, is it? It's just Chevy now. But I love the Kia Stinger. I know Ness does as well. GT7 Mythbusters. Maybe. I don't really know what I'd do for that. Thanks, Monty, for the congrats. Where are we? Do I think there will be more cars and tracks? Honestly, at this point, no, I don't. Because I think if they were going to start to put more out, they'd have already done it. Once you start already losing players, as they doubtless are, now's not the time to try and do that. What do I think of the Queen passing? Well, I'm going to say it, Kiasha. I know you don't want me to. I think that a slave trader died yesterday, or the day before, and I don't particularly care. Because she put the ancestors of my girlfriend into slavery, so I don't care. Just some old bat died. I care far more about the nurses and doctors who died during COVID than I do about her. Cayman Islands, Birmingham original. Well, yeah, you can hear it, mate. I am in fact a Brummie. That's where I come from originally. Well, is it the Black Country? The Midlands? I'm not sure. I'm a full Brummie. I'm from Shard End. And half the people in the chat can't understand what I'm saying anymore now. Okay, babe. Practice starts in an hour. Oh, yeah, I do have a room called Sin as well. That's a free one on YouTube. That one's here on the channel. I think it's here. Did I put it on this channel? Was it on HSG Unlimited? I think that's here on the channel. Historic versions. I do miss some, to be honest. I do not like Deep Forest, to be honest. I don't like what it looks like now. I know a lot of people have gotten accustomed to it. I've given it a lot of time now. I just don't like it. It doesn't have any of the charm, to me, of the old one. And Trial Mountain, I mean, Trial Mountain's pretty close, so I'm okay with that, but the rest of the driver games, honestly, I own a couple of the other driver games, but I've never really played them. I mean, kind of 4 books, yeah. I mean, a room called Sin is more of an audiobook only. I never did a physical version, so I don't really count that. Get any racing series worldwide? I'm guessing that's a series. I haven't heard of that. I'm not familiar with that, if it's a game. Toyota A86. It's a legendary car for sure. I can definitely see the appeal. When I reviewed the Fiat Panda 100 HP on the channel in Beards and Cars, I think it has a similar vibe. Not in terms of being a drift car or anything, but, you know, it's only got 100 horsepower, but you can have so much fun with it. The Toyota 86, or specifically the A86, it's only got like 120, 130 brakes, so I could definitely see it being a huge amount of fun. The problem I have with it is cars like that have become so legendary that the prices are just stupid, and that's the problem that I have. Because it prices the car out of being a good young person's car. Hi, Pipan or Pipan. I did not just say that. I did not just say what about the beard. What Jaguars are missing? In jokes galore, I know. What Jaguars are missing that I really want to review? Well, I'm not going to be able to review a CX-75 anytime soon. That would be the ultimate one. What other Jags do I want to review? Well, I'd like to do an F-Pace SVR. I think that would be quite a cool one. I mean, an XJ220 maybe, but even then, I've never really liked that car that much, so not many, really. I've kind of done all the Jags that I want to do, to be honest. Maybe the newest shape XJR, that would be a nice one. Hodge Hill, I know the name, mate. I haven't been to Brum in quite a long time, and we left when I was 3, so I didn't really know it that well. The only thing I really remember about Brum was that big stone in the middle of the road with a blue nose on it. that was like, I think it was for the Blues Football Club or something. Favourite luxury car? I don't know. Oh, actually, I do know. Cadillac 16. But it's only a concept. If I was a millionaire, I'd commission Cadillac to build me a second one. I'd have to be quite a millionaire for that, though. Gallardo. I think the Murcielago SV and the Gallardo, especially the LP560, certainly could come back. I don't recall if they were in the leaked list or not. I think they might have been. Special stage, would I hope to? Sure. I don't see it happening, though. I feel like special stages are only really included because of the fandom. Thanks, Ben. I don't know how long you've been around on the channel now, but I know you're one of the kind of OGs, at least. And I am well. Thank you. New Forza reboot. Honestly, I hate to say this. This is the first Forza game that I could not care less about. And I hate to say that because both Forza and Gran Turismo are just flushing down the toilet for me, the way things are going. And I just don't care. I really don't care about the new Forza game. I'm not buying a new console for it. I have no plans to buy it at all or cover it, which is insane for me to even say that. Yeah, it just looks like a rip-off of GT Sport to me, which is my least liked Gran Turismo game, so... Series... Oh, right, okay. I'd say Le Mans. I don't actually watch any motorsport, but my favourite would be Le Mans. Prototype classes in particular, especially the Group C era in the 90s. Hi HMD. What track do I think they'll add next? Ooh, I don't know. I really want it to be Grand Valley, just because I know it'll annoy the haters so much. But I do think that Midfield has a decent chance of coming back. Midfield Raceway, which used to be my favourite circuit as a kid. Most brutal missions. This is going to sound so pathetic. The most brutal mission, honestly, the one mission I could not do in Gran Turismo 4 when I was a kid, because I didn't understand the physics. The Skyline Slipstream mission on test course in Gran Turismo 4, where you had to catch that yellow skyline. I could not do that for so long, and it's the simplest thing, which is ironic given that the channel got into doing speed tunes. But to be fair, I was like 12 at the time. And I wanted to do it so bad because I wanted to unlock the Jay Leno tank car. And that was one of the missions you had to do to get it, but I finally did it. Favourite Lamborghini? It's between two for me. My favourite actual production Lambo is either the Espada or the LM002, probably the Espada. My favourite Lamborghini that they never built is the Estacade, the four-door Lamborghini. I'm a sucker for practical supercars. Favourite Japanese touring car? I have no idea, to be honest. Do I still collect diecast? Technically, yes, but also not really, because I don't really have much space for them anymore, and there aren't that many that I want. Hi, Greg. Funny you should mention diecast, though. I have actually confirmed a sponsorship collaboration with D'Agostini, and they're sending me a build kit for their 1/8 scale. I think it's like... Where's the camera? It's like this big. It's like 51 centimeter Ford GT40 that you build, in stages. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I asked them if they'd mind if I did a full series of painting and building the car on the channel, so I'm going to do that. What do I think of rebadging cars? In what sense, mate? Like, do you mean just like doing it yourself, or like the Vauxhall VXR8 instead of a Holden kind of thing? Thoughts on a Gt4 remake? Honestly, it's kind of what I was hoping GT7 would be. Obviously, that's not how it panned out. I would 100% love it. If it was exactly the same game, but with better graphics, it would be better than the past two games for me. What manufacturer do I want to return? Well, you've named some good ones. You seem to know me. I love Panos. Lister is, of course, one of my loves as well. Pasquarolo is fantastic. For me, I would probably say Panos, even though it wouldn't be that useful. But have I completed all GT7 races? Yes, I have. I haven't done all of the circuit experiences, I don't think. There are a couple I couldn't be bothered with, and I still need to do the final one on the Nordschleife, which is annoying because that's worth 6 million. I think I've got silver on it. I need the gold. My favourite real-life car moment. Ones that I can talk about on YouTube? I would say my favourite real-life car moment is probably my review, or what, was the making of the review for my Porsche Panamera GTS review. Because the Panamera, I specifically did not like the car, and then I drove it, and no other car has ever won me over so much, to the point where I want one now. Just the Panamera is, in my opinion, the Panamera may be the best car ever made, in terms of just doing everything. The chat kind of jumps every so often. Any racing games I'm looking forward to? Well, honestly, the one I'm looking forward to the most at the moment is Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Glad you're enjoying it. And even Test Drive Solar Crown's having issues. Fan of electric cars. Well, sorry to disappoint Alex, but yes, I am. I've reviewed a couple of them. I drove a Tesla Model S 85 and a Jaguar I-Pace. The Jaguar was way, way better. And I do like them. I like electric cars, but I don't have any plans to get one. Partially because they're so expensive. My favourite electric car is probably the Porsche Taycan. But I do love the Rimac. The Rimac is awesome, but unfortunately I can never drive a Rimac. You can't fit in if you're over like 5'9", you can't fit in the car. A new game that could beat Forza and Gran Turismo. I mean, it's always possible. I think Project Cars 3 kind of tried to do that, but I don't hear anyone talking about that game anymore. Oh, I'd love to see Complex String back. I love that track. It was such a pointless circuit in Gran Turismo 3, but I still love it. Mission 34. Is Mission 34... Is that the SLR on the Nürburgring? Majore... I don't... Oh, do you mean the endurance mission on Majore? Is that a Group 3 mission? If it is, then I don't think I've done that. There are 3 endurance missions that I still haven't finished. I haven't done the Mazda MX-5 one. I haven't done the Majore one, and I haven't done whatever the last one is. I can't remember what the circuit is. Favourite 80s motorsport car? Well, it would definitely be something from Group C. What would it be? Maybe a Porsche 962. I'd have to think harder, because it's probably not that, but that's what would come to mind. How long will they support GT7? I mean, I don't know. Are they even still supporting GT Sport? I guess, yeah, I think they still are. Are they? Actually, I don't know. I don't know. Because they shut down GT6 real quick, and that was a massive mistake. In fact, it wasn't a mistake. They did it deliberately, because I think they knew that people would go back to that instead, because GT Sport was nothing like a traditional game. What caused a drop of players? Honestly, really bad game management. Rubbish release of updates. Total lack of community communication, which is what Polyphony always does, because Kaz just does his own thing. And, people don't stick around if they feel like they're being ignored. It's just how it works. So Kaz can make whatever game he wants, but don't be surprised when there's like 10 people playing it. American muscle or supercar? I would say in games, probably supercars. In real life, well, now that I've got a classic American car, I love muscle. Mine isn't a muscle car technically, it's a luxury car, but it's close enough. And I actually am planning to change my daily driver from the Golf R32 to a muscle car. Wedding business, yeah, that didn't work out. That was with the Bentley. The Bentley had a water ingress problem. Water got in by the windscreen, messed up the electronics. It was going to be too expensive to fix, so I traded it in for the Golf R32, and I've never looked back and never regretted it. Golf's a way better car. Hyundai Envision, is that the one that looks kind of like a DeLorean? That's a pretty cool car. I'd love to see the Panos back, for sure. As long as, just like with the Lister Storm, they'd have to get it right. What car from GT4 would I drive in real life? Well, technically, I have driven a car from GT4. Technically, I've owned a car from GT4. My last car, before I bought the Lincoln, was a Mitsubishi Evo 7 GTA, and that is in Gran Turismo 4, and 5 and 6. It's the automatic Mitsubishi Evo. Do I think Red Rock Valley could return? I mean, maybe. It was in that leak. Most hated car. I don't really hate specific cars. I did a video way back about that. I tend to dislike cars that are oversaturated. So here in the UK, you see like BMW M4s everywhere, Audi S5s everywhere. You know, it's the standard car for every gym bro who thinks that's the coolest thing in the world. And it just looks like a flock of sheep driving past. But even then, I don't hate them. You know, I've reviewed an M4. It was a great car. I actually like the M4 more than the M3. So it is a good machine. But favourite cover car in racing games? I can't think of them all. Again, the Ford GT would come to mind from Gran Turismo 4. But usually racing game covers kind of obscure the car a bit. Hey, thanks for the donation, Rufus. And thanks for the congratulations. The chat jumped down. The Xpeng. I actually unlocked the Xpeng yesterday from the seasonal events, but I haven't driven it much apart from that seasonal lap. It seems fine. When I first saw it, I didn't realise what it was. I thought it was a Lucid Air for a second because it looks very similar. But yeah, it's kind of just meh. It looks like driving a stapler. It's just a boring looking car. I'm so sick of them making electric cars look boring because there's no reason to do that. Any who are not familiar with it, Google search RENOVO Coupe. That's an electric car. Renovo Coupe. Or as they'd call it, the Renovo Coupe. And I've actually talked to the guy who designed that car, Peter Brock. Next gen update for PS5. I don't really know what you mean. Do you mean like updating the graphics and stuff? I wouldn't have thought so. Guides for the missions. I was planning to do a guide for pretty much every mission. But the reason why I've never done more is because, as we've seen especially recently, they change the performance points and the tyres and the events so drastically with every update and mess stuff up that, my guides wouldn't even work. I did that guide with the Radical, and it doesn't work anymore. The points have jumped way higher. So it just seems like a waste of time to some degree. Is the Mazda 787B the best sounding car? In my opinion, no. The Mazda 787B was my dad's favourite car. It does sound incredible. I've heard one in person at Goodwood. And it does sound fantastic. Honestly, people are going to roll their eyes at this, I prefer the sound of something like a NASCAR. Because I know NASCAR gets a lot of jokes, but NASCAR engines are just awesome. Anyone who can build a car that can sit at the red line at 200 miles an hour, non-stop for hundreds of laps, that gets my respect. Because even in Le Mans, you get the chance to slow down. Nice beard, thanks. I hate McLarens though. Yes, I do hate McLarens. Well, I don't hate McLarens. I just don't buy into the McLaren hype. Least favourite car I've owned? Definitely the Evo Ness. Definitely, because even my first Maserati still taught me so many beneficial things to make my second Maserati so much more enjoyable. Whereas with the Evo just... I tried to talk myself into liking it more, and I think that for the right person, the Evo would be like their favourite car ever. But for me, it just doesn't suit me. So yeah, the Evo is definitely my least favourite car I've had. When did I realise GT7 sucks? Well, I don't think it sucks. See, that's the problem I have. The reason why Gran Turismo 7 frustrates me so much is because it doesn't suck. It has so much potential. If a game is just trash, like Fast and Furious Crossroads or something, then that's fine. You just say, this sucks, I'm never playing it again, but you don't get angry about it because there's no stakes. It's when Gran Turismo, such an iconic, important franchise, kind of like the Madden series, if any of you watch Angry Joe, he's so annoyed always about the Madden games because they were so good. It's the same with Gran Turismo. Are Citroens interesting? Yes, I think Citroens are very interesting, especially their classic stuff, like the Disse. I can never remember how to correctly pronounce it. I think it's Disse or something like that. The DS, as most people call it. Yeah, they're great with suspension. They've got like the steering wheel that moves, but not the center. It's cool stuff. My favourite Citroen is the GT. Man, I'd love to have a GT by Citroen in real life. But I also love there's a concept car they made called the C Matisse, which looks absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. 100 miles an hour backwards. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me for an electric car. Yes, the LFA is a car which is actually growing on me quite a bit. Because I always felt it was a bit overrated, like the Nissan GTR, but I have a feeling I'd like the LFA quite a lot if I drove one. What's the car that got me into cars and into GT games? Well, I've always liked cars ever since I was really little, but I think the first car that I remember loving in GT was either, because obviously I don't remember which one I saw first, but I think it was either the Renault Espace F1 or the Chrysler Phaeton concept car. I remember absolutely loving those. What will Gt8 be like? I mean, at this point, who knows, mate? Because the problem that we have now is because of our response to this and because of how disappointed many of us have been, justifiably so. Kaz might say, well, okay, then we need to go back to GT Sport style, because there was a higher consensus of people who seem to like that. That concerns me, because that'll just be the same problem all over again, so I really don't know. Thanks, Rhys. Toyota TS20. Absolutely. I really want to see the Toyota come back. I want to paint mine red, put a number plate on it, and make it the GT1 road car. Sauber. Yeah, a Sauber C9. Again, I've heard a Sauber in person at Goodwood, and a C11, which inspired the Zonda. And they are similar. My favourite car sound of all time is actually the Howmet TX, which is the turbine-engined Group 6 race car from the late 60s. It's the only turbine engine car to ever win a race. Looks a little bit like it actually looks like a Chaparral 2D. Very similar shape to a Chaparral. I believe they were the same racing class, possibly. Holden Tirana, not massively. I do like Holden, and funny you should mention that, because earlier on when I said that I'm thinking about getting a muscle car as my daily, it's technically a Holden. I'm thinking of getting a Vauxhall VX R8, which is obviously a Holden R8. Thanks, Giants. Dodge going electric, good for them. I think that's great. Everyone's doing it, manufacturers don't have a choice. This is the thing that many people are forgetting. They have to go electric at a certain point because of the law. So you may as well get ahead of the curve, and then by the time you have to do it, your cars will be so much better. Hello, views. I'm guessing, Corbin, you mean, hi again then, guys? iOS or Android? Well, I use iOS, iPhone. I despise Apple, but I still use a phone. I feel like I'm one of the many there. What do I do away from YouTube? I do quite a few different things, actually. Not all of which I can discuss here. If you know, you know. Nissan Micra, I mean, sure, I guess. I drive an MMR Cup car from Gran Turismo 4. What am I more likely to review? Dodge Challenger or Triumph Dolomite? More likely? I mean, well, Triumph Dolomite, because it's easier to find one. And if I had the chance, I mean, it also depends what Dodge Challenger you're talking about. Are you talking like OG Challenger, like Vanishing Point Challenger, or are you talking like modern day? If it were a classic Challenger, I'd have to go Challenger, just because I could find a Triumph after some point. But if it was a new Dodge Challenger or a Triumph Dolomite Sprint, I'd choose the Triumph. What car do I hate the most in any Gran Turismo? I was going to say I don't hate any, but I think probably any of the Chrome cars, the Chrome line cars in Gran Turismo 6. So especially the Jaguar XJ13, and maybe even more so the Audi R8 Chrome line, because it's so much slower than the normal one. Did they release GT7 too early? Honestly, no. Controversial, perhaps. I don't think they released it too early. I think the problem could easily seem like that, because logically, and see, this is where they're relying on us to not be well informed, by having a game with monthly updates, it causes you to think, oh, the game must not be finished. But if you look at the release trailers prior to GT7 coming out, there were cars and references in the trailer to vehicles that are not in the game at that point, which means they were already ready to go. So the game was fully capable of having way more content, and they deliberately held it back. So did they release it too early? Absolutely not. Did they release it badly? Hell yes, they did. The pack should be way bigger. In my opinion, there should be 0 updates for the game apart from bug fixes. Because honestly, what would you guys rather have? Would you rather have 3 cars every month and hear all the community saying how much they don't care about them, and oh, I wanted this, I wanted that? Or would you rather have every single car we're ever going to have in the game from launch, but have some ones that you have to unlock through career mode progression only, like in the older games? I'm sure there are people who would rather have updates, but to me that's a no-brainer. Edsel. Well, funnily enough, Edsel actually has a connection to my car. For those who don't know, I've got my toy, in effect. I've got a 1968 Lincoln Continental, and the engine in mine is a 462 MEL engine, and MEL stands for Mercury Edsel Lincoln. So Edsel is a brand which used the same engine as my car in at least, I guess, one of their models. And controversial, I like Edsel. I like the Darth Vader face Edsel. I like it. I especially like the, I don't know what they call it. Is it the Countryman or the touring version, like wagon? I think it's a cool looking car. I'd have that in baby blue and white with a steel roof rack, white wall tyres slammed to the ground like Surfer Dude style. What do I think about the GT40? I'm not really aware of any memes about it. I love the GT40. My favourite classic of all time is not the GT40, but it's similar. My favourite classic design is the Shelby Daytona Cobra, but I do love the GT40 as well. Castrol Tom Supra. If I'm thinking of the one you mean, mate, we kind of already have that in the game. At the very least, we have a Castrol Supra in Gran Turismo 6 and 7. It's one of the only premium GT500s. Do I think it will go down? Well, I sure hope not. That would be a real dumb decision. Never played Fallout 4. I mean, yes and no. No, because I don't know what your preference in games is. If you've never played Fallout 4, I said in a video the other day, it's my favourite game of all time. And yeah, I absolutely adore Fallout. I mean, again, my Lincoln, I've got a Fallout bobblehead in the rear window. I've got a Vault-Tec sticker in the side window. I've got Fallout references all over my car. I absolutely love that game. But it depends on what kind of style of gaming you like. I love Fallout 4 because it's a massive map. You can play through the game loads of different ways. By far the best DLC of any game I've ever played, because the DLC is massive. And yeah, I love that game. Do I still do the side content? Yes, I do. I guess GT7 will be worth getting in 2024. Maybe. I mean, sure. I don't PC game anyway, but I know a lot of people like that. I agree, Megan. I'd much rather unlock a car. It makes it feel more special. Like, imagine if they brought back a Ford Model T now in Gran Turismo 7. And you can buy it in the legendary dealership for $1 million. Compare that to having to get all gold in the licenses, special licenses, mind you, in Gran Turismo 4. It meant more. It just meant more. I use a controller, Corbin. I do not like wheels, ironically, for someone who reviews cars. Thanks, Nikki. Remastered games. I just don't think Polyphony has any interest in remastering games. I think the only way that they will ever do it is if the corporate side thinks they'll make a lot of money. And even then. Last Herald, thanks for stopping by, mate. Enjoy your snooze. Lack of weather. I guess that's a hot take of mine. I actually don't care as much about weather as many people seem to. I remember back in the Gran Turismo 4 days again, there was only one circuit, I believe, in the whole game that had rain, and it was Tsukuba wet. And I never cared. I never cared. The only weather that I really care about having in Gran Turismo, if you can have it, is snow. Because to me, snow just goes so much further than rain and makes it really interesting. And even Project Gotham had that. You could have snow on the Nürburgring, which is just awesome. Thanks, F. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys enjoy Unsung Heroes. It's been a long time since episodes. Obviously, I did one the other day for the V12 Corvette. I do love doing Unsung Heroes. I just don't feel in the mood for the research sometimes. Forza 4, Gran Turismo 4. Ultimately, Gran Turismo 4, but they're both my favourites of the franchises. Any moment of the Batman games? Yes, for sure. I remember my dad was still alive at the time when it happened, and even he could tell how much I loved the game. It was the last one, Batman Arkham Knight, on the PS4. Bit of a controversial game because of how obvious the twist was. To me, that didn't ruin it, because to me, the point of Arkham Knight, the real juicy depth of that game, wasn't about the twist, which I won't spoil if you don't know it, but if you know comics, you'll know it immediately. The real thing that was great to me is that the game really made you feel Batman's fear. That he was so profoundly scared of becoming the Joker. That's what it's all about. I love that. I love psychological stuff like that, and Batman is such a broken character anyway. He's not a hero. He's one bad day away. And I love that. I love that kind of thing. Red Bull. I mean, sure, yeah, they can add fake Formula 1 cars if that's what it takes to get them in the game. I honestly don't mind. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Formula 1 anyway, but I know a ton of people are. So it would be nice to get like a spiritual successor to the Formula Gran Turismo back. Saw your video about GT7 Korea. Single-player games were a thing in the past because online wasn't possible. But now, because we have online, the career is the online career. I get the sentiment, but that's just not correct. Gran Turismo 4 had online, and that was 18 years ago, through, I think it was LAN connection. Nobody really cared. And Gran Turismo 5 had online, massively popular. It had an auction house as well, and it still had 2 substantial career modes. To me, the problem that people have is the Forza versus Gran Turismo. It's the Xbox versus PlayStation. You don't have to choose. You can have a fantastic online and a great career. This mentality that we have to have one or the other is completely manufactured by the game's creators to make their jobs easier. And of course, making a game that's online is easier. Look at Fallout 76. That was so much easier to make than Fallout 4. Think of how little writing they had to do and how few voice actors it took to make that game. It's online. You can play with your friends. Yeah, for 5 minutes. I hated Fallout 76. It was a massive disappointment. Yeah, licensing could be an issue with remastering. Yeah, it could be with the cars. I have given wheels a chance. I actually had a wheel. I did a review which some people complained about because of how I was using the wheel. Thrustmaster sent me the Ferrari wheel, which I reviewed on the channel. and I actually did a live a Gran Turismo. I participated in technically one of the first ever GT Sport live events back in 2016, I think it was, or 2017 in London. And I was on a wheel. I think I finished 4th, I believe, out of the 16 people. And I was probably one of the only people there who doesn't use a wheel, so I was actually quite happy with that. But I still didn't like it. That's on YouTube, actually, that video. It's not on the channel, but it's on a different person's channel. Will GT7 fulfill their promises? At this point, who knows? I mean, the amount of promises that Polyphony breaks is just ridiculous. They show cars, specifically show cars on certain tracks or in certain conditions that indicate it's going to be a current game, then it doesn't come in the current game. Perfect example, look at GT6. Go into the Vision GT section, look at how many of those manufacturers never arrived. And you can tell now they never even planned for them to arrive because of how much more development the game needed to get them in there. Best memories. Oh, PS2 for sure. It's got to be the PS2 for me. Between the PS1 and the PS2, but the two. If you haven't played it, Indian Superman, do yourself a favour. Play Forza Motorsport 4. It's a very different experience to Gran Turismo 4, but I think you'll like it. It's the least Forza-y of the more recent Forza games. Recent, I think it's like 2011, but it's arguably Forza Motorsport 3 and Forza 4, maybe even Forza 2 as well, actually, are very, very similar to Gran Turismo, but also different enough to be worth looking at. Yeah, I think you should get extra credits, but again, to do with what I talked about early on, that they didn't release Gran Turismo 7 in the right way. They don't want to give you extra credits. They want you to grind, they want you to buy the microtransactions. Koenigsegg Jesko. I'm not a huge fan of the Jesko, to be honest. My favourite Koenigsegg is the CCX, which is like the same kind of era as my favourite Pagani, which is the Zonda F. To me, that's like the prime era. Before they got like over-teched, they were still kind of raw. Yeah, that's true that GT7 Online didn't have access to everyone, but it wasn't really a test. It was a service that anyone could use, because I remember having it listed the details in my book. The reason why not everyone could access it wasn't because they weren't allowed to. It wasn't like a beta. It was just because not everyone had the internet power or speed or ability to do it. It was very early days stuff. But even if I give you that point, it still doesn't apply to GT5. Still had a great online and career. Midtown Madness would be cool. I would actually love to see... I want to see a Tourist Trophy 2. And I'd love to see Enthusia 2. Maybe a Road Trip Adventure 2023. A-Spec or B-Spec. Depends on the event. For an endurance race, I actually like doing it in B-Spec more, because it's more fun as the manager. Hi, Ethan. Logitech. I don't know. I don't know what model it was. I don't recall. Yeah, I prefer controller just because it's what I'm used to, I guess. And yeah, like I said, I can't get into the wheels. Will Koenigsegg come to Gran Turismo? I think Koenigsegg could come to Gran Turismo, but I don't necessarily see it happening in GT7. See you in a bit, Megan. Thanks for dropping by. I think you asked quite a few questions, so thanks for that. I mean, you say that Indian Superman, you can get a 360 pretty cheap these days. It's really not an expensive console. You can even get the facelifted version, which is more reliable. And the thing is, I wouldn't just buy it for that. There are actually quite a few really good games on the 360 that PlayStation doesn't have. If I would recommend, if you do get a 360, you should get Forza 2, 3, 4, Horizon 1, which isn't as fun without the online, but it's still, you can see where it started. And some people do still think that's the best Horizon game. And also Project Gotham 4. What cars am I most excited about coming to Gran Turismo? If you mean of the confirmed ones, I don't recall them all. I don't remember. Oh, the Chiron. The Bugatti Chiron. I'm actually looking forward to that quite a bit. The Veyron and the Chiron have really gone up in my personal favourite cars list. Since reviewing real cars, actually, it's taught me more about what my favourite kind of cars are, and I already know I would love a Bugatti, because it's my kind of car. Do I miss TOCA touring cars? I don't miss the game series. I certainly don't miss, what was his name? Tiff Needell's voice. But DTM cars are always cool. Could GT7 be saved? Could it? Absolutely. Will it? No. I just don't think Polyphony care enough. I honestly don't think they care. They do whatever the hell they want. When you play Forza, does it give... I would say that Forza 2... I know Ness would say Forza 3, but for me, Forza 2 and 4 definitely give Gran Turismo vibes. But also, it is different. So, like, there are really good ideas in there. And there are cars in those games that Gran Turismo still never had. You know, Gumper, Mosler, really cool stuff. Thanks, Cabbage. But there's also stuff like driver affinity, wherein in Forza 4, if you drive a certain car from a manufacturer, your, like, status with that manufacturer increases and you unlock, like, significant badges and stuff to put on your name. Like, I always had, like, Panos aficionado or Maserati aficionado. And the track selection in Forza 4 is really good as well. Top Gear circuit, various others. One of my favourite tracks that Gran Turismo's never had, the Le Mans Bugatti circuit. That's a nice little one. Do I think we'll have the Ferrari Formula 1 cars? No. Licensing, they won't bother. Yeah, I remember playing Midtown Madness at a friend's house, but I never actually owned it myself. My favourite Koenigsegg I mentioned earlier on, it's the CCX. My second favourite is the CC8S. So as you can tell, I like that old school Koenigsegg vibe. I mean, I've got to totally disagree with whoever says that it's hard to get money in Forza Horizon 5. That sounds to me like somebody who's never actually played it, because they literally throw everything at you all the time. So that's BS. Are invite-only cars worth it? I mean, yes and no. Some of them, sure. The Veyron, I would say, is worth it, but that's because I like the Veyron. For most people, probably not. The Carrera GT is probably one of the most obvious, exciting invitation-only ones. But again, invitation-only it's an interesting idea, but I think the problem with invitation-only, it's a good idea, but it's implemented in an awful way. You should not win invitations from spins. That makes no sense. You should win invitations by completing a certain event related to that car. That could have been like their version of the Gran Turismo 4 manufacturer races, and that would have been cool, because then the invitation would have stayed open, and that would have made more sense. Did I know Bugatti is a French car? Yes, Lil Bubba, I did know. Did you know, Kiasha, that if you put your van into reverse on the driveway and leave the handbrake on, it's not good for the engine? Next mainline GT game, I mean, I don't think they have plans to release it anytime soon. Honestly, what I would love right now is if Polyphony forgot about developing the next Gran Turismo game, completely put it on the back burner, put all the effort into this for now, and then do Tourist Trophy 2. They're not going to do that because motorcycle games just don't get anywhere near the same sales and attention. But the first Tourist Trophy is genuinely one of the best racing games of all time. And I believe still the best motorcycle game of all time. And I just... Oh, you rank them all equally. Interesting. I will say, to Ness's point about ranking them, I believe the most Gran Turismo-esque game that Forza has ever made, by far, is Forza 2. It is very, very similar to Gran Turismo in many ways. and it gives you that Gran Turismo feeling, especially from like Gran Turismo 3 and 4. Kind of arcade music, arcade colours, but then racing that's taken really seriously. Thanks, J-Man. Codemasters EA. I mean, I don't know. What is EA even doing at this point? Codemasters used to be pretty awesome. I don't really know. It seems like everything's just going down the toilet. Thanks, Dutchman. What inspired me to do YouTube? I guess that's kind of a question that has an answer and not an answer at the same time. Nothing inspired me to do it, because I first created this channel in 2009. It was called Dower 962 Roadcar, and it's just a place to shove my Goodwood videos and random stuff. Hey there, bud. I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm not even going to attempt that. But I got started at the end of 2013 when GT6 came out by doing like a reverse speed tune for the Chaparral 2J. And then I just saw that people were watching it. I liked the idea of doing more. And then I had this bright idea. I think it was one of the best ideas I've ever had on YouTube, which is to me something I've always kept as a business philosophy. There are two ways of being good at business. You either have to do what everyone else is doing better than them, or you have to do something that no one else is doing. Those are the two ways to succeed at business. Either be niched or be the best at something. Those are your two options. So I wasn't ever going to be the fastest of drivers, so what's the point? So instead I thought, well, okay, I'm just going to saturate the market. So I put out hundreds of speed tunes and just filled that market on YouTube, so much so that no one could ever keep up. And even if they started doing them, they could never catch up to the amount that I did. I mean, look at my Gran Turismo 6 playlist. There's something like 1,500 videos in that one playlist or something. And then there's over 1,000 in my Gran Turismo Sport playlist. To me, saturating the market has always been something I'm pretty damn good at. In terms of actually inspiring me of how to run my YouTube channel, how seriously to take YouTube, Rhett and Link are my biggest inspirations. And to me, I think this is an interesting thing about inspiration. People completely misunderstand what it is. People think that inspired means you copy someone. Like, there are other YouTubers, I've seen some, who just rip off what I've done. You know, like they have their own version of special projects or their own version of this or that that's clearly just a rip-off of me. On the one hand, that's very complimentary, because it means they think I'm smarter than them. Because if I've done it first and they're copying it, it means they can't think of their own ideas. But also, I think being inspired, what it actually is, I would actually say, anyone who's trying to do something, you should look to be inspired by somebody who doesn't do what you're doing. So for me, I'm inspired by Rhett and Link. They're nothing like me. I'm inspired by them because they're authentic to what they've always been doing, for the most part. They have an amazing work ethic. They've stuck at it through thick and thin, and they've always just had hope that, you know, people are going to enjoy this. Not everyone, but people are going to more or less of a degree. And they are my biggest inspiration. They always have been. But in terms of getting started, no, I don't think there really was any inspiration, but that was quite a long answer to that one. Do I miss Colin McRae? Kind of. I was actually more of a WRC guy myself. Yeah, you did tell me that, little Bubba. You didn't just tell me, you showed me. You're out in the car. Take any car out of existence? I don't know. I don't think there is any I'd take out of existence, to be honest, because any car, you know, somebody likes it. How Gran Turismo like is Forza 4? I already kind of answered earlier on. 2 and 4 are very Gran Turismo-esque. I can't really fully describe it. I mean, if you watch some of the videos I've done, you can get a vibe of what it's like. Grand Valley, no news yet, bud. Yeah, I think that's the problem, Fs. Not everyone does vibe with motorcycle games, because cars are more popular than bikes in terms of how many people are super into them. And that's always going to be a problem. But, yeah, I mean, I love bikes. But not everyone does. That's just the way it is. And that's one of the reasons why I love games that have both. Test Drive Unlimited, Project Gotham. or Drive Club, I guess, having cars and bikes in the same game, it makes so much sense. Are coffee breaks? I never really understood why they called it that, because it was still like a timed thing. A real coffee break should be something that's just stupid fun. 4 a.m. What time's it ending? I don't know, little bubs. Maybe an hour and a half. We're at an hour and 15 at the moment, so maybe about 15 more minutes, because my throat's starting to get a bit sore. In fact, time for not a sponsor, Rain Apple. To quote Rhett and Link. I really don't know. How do you say that name? Guandan? Guandan? Sure, that's wrong. G. Why the amount of cars is reduced? I mean, it really is only speculation. I think, unfortunately, you're not going to like this answer, and you shouldn't. I think the reason why it's only 3 is because they know full well they are going to milk this game for years. And by stretching out the updates as long as they can still claim, and the fanboys can still claim, oh no, we're still getting updates. That's what I think. Chaparral. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny with the Chaparral because after I made that one, I started to see other people pop up in online lobbies. Speaking of online lobbies, one of the biggest mistakes Polyphony has made, in my opinion, in the past 2 games is getting rid of voice chat online. I know you can do like your own party chat, but it's just not the same. It's just not the same. Human interaction, you know, we're losing it. I don't know, Conan. Main reason why they didn't do full campaign, I don't think they're lazy. I think they're just misguided sometimes. They put, this is the Polyphony problem, they put all of their eggs into one basket most of the time. And at the moment, that basket happens to be esports, which I find kind of a sick humour in the fact that the FIA dumped them after all that. Top 5 bikes off the top of my head. My top 5 bikes, well, obviously the Y2K is my number 1. Bimoto YB6. Boss Hoss. V8 350. Probably an MV Agusta F4 R312. And maybe Ducati 748 SP. Either a 748 SP or a Ducati Dival Carbon, I think. Off the top of my head, anyway. No, Forza 4 doesn't have the vibe of the newer games. That's why I like it. I don't like 5, 6, or 7 anywhere near as much. Got bored of them real quick. Yeah, Drive Club had fantastic weather graphics. Drive Club, in general, I think, doesn't get enough credit for being so good. The only problem really with Drive Club for me is the same problem that Project Gotham has, and that is that the tracks just feel very small and constrained. That's a shame. Because I tell you what, if Drive Club was an open world game, game over. That would be like top 5 favourite games, easy. Yeah, I mean, getting the bike physics right is very challenging. And I actually kind of appreciate that because some of you might not know I ride in real life. I haven't ridden a bike in a while because I crashed on one during a review. But it is a totally different skill set to ride a bike to a car. Because with a car, you steer with just upper body strength. With a bike, you use your whole body. You are part of the machine, more so than with a car. And in a bike, the horizon tilts, like in a fighter jet. In a car, the horizon is pretty much always flat. Yes, it's a totally different vibe, a totally different skill set, and I think capturing that vibe in a game is a very difficult thing. Some games have done it very well. I haven't tested the Formula 1 cars yet, Sonic. That is the next Rivals match I plan on doing. I would imagine the McLaren Thanks, Corbin. Thanks for dropping by. Where were we? Yeah, I missed the 1200 cars as well, mate. I actually fancy playing Gran Turismo 6 again just because I missed some of them. Good open world game. I mean, could they? Sure. I'd be interested to know where an open world Gran Turismo would be set. I actually made a video about this subject on the channel. I called it Gran Turismo World. And I think it could be possible, but I just don't think they have any interest. Gran Turismo's always been about like the professional, organised motorsports, and I just don't think they have any interest in open world racing at all. Yeah, good bikes. And I do love the Aprilia. Yeah. I want the new Dirt. I'm not sure which the new one is, mate. I've played, because I get sent review copies of certain games from Dead Good Media to review them ahead of time, and I think I've done a review for Dirt before from them. They sent me the last WRC as well. Honestly, I find pretty much all rally games recently kind of boring. They all feel the same. They feel weird, like the physics are just off somehow. It's almost like the physics are still from 15 years ago, but in a bad way. I do like the Kawasaki Ninja. My favourite Kawasaki Ninja is a 2006 Ninja 10R, the one that's kind of controversial for the wheelbarrow exhausts. The one that's very round, and it's got like the round headlamps, but they go up into almost like a tapered look. I love the look of that one. Favorite car culture? Maybe lowriders. My Lincoln's kind of like a lowrider. I don't really have any car culture fandom in me. Like, I don't subscribe to any. I'm more of like an everything kind of guy. But maybe lowriders, I don't know. Or maybe just classics in general, yeah, like in Cuba. Yeah, I mean, with the McLaren cost thing, I have no issue. I've actually said this a number of times. I have no issue with expensive cars. Just get rid of the microtransactions and make events that feel like they pay you handsomely. As it happens, the Le Mans event does pay you pretty well. I tend to do the Le Mans event once a day, so then when the next update comes, I've got good money. But if they brought back like the Ford Model T and it was 100 million credits just for the sake of it, I'd buy it. I'd buy it. But I wouldn't pay real money for it, that's for damn sure. Yeah, it is cool to see bike racers transition, and I think a couple might have done it the other way around, go from cars to bikes. There was a guy, I don't remember his name, I want to say Dan Gurney, but that's probably not correct, there was like one guy who was the champion on both, and he may have been joined by other people now, but I know for a long time there was one guy who was like the MotoGP champion and a Grand Prix champion, and he was like one of the only people to do both. Oh, there's loads of cars I miss from GT6. Panos, Lister, loads. A lot of the normal cars I miss as well. Did I play Ride 4? Yes, I did. I did a review for that as well. Ness made a meme the other day about how I said in the video you can expect a lot more content from this. 3 years later, there's nothing. Ride 2 is my favourite. Open world in Tokyo. Yeah, Tokyo would be cool because obviously Forza hasn't done that yet. So if Gran Turismo did want to do open world, setting it in Japan would be the smart move. I think I might have played Dirt 5. I think that might have been... I mean, you could easily check on the channel if I've done a review for it. I'm pretty sure I have. The reason why the Mercedes isn't in GT7, in all honesty, mate, most likely licensing the car. I would say that's probably the reason. Maybe they'll make a fake version, call it Formula Gran Turismo. Might as well. Has the Dower 962 never been in a game? Are you sure? You might be correct. I know that there have been a couple of games that came close to having it. one of the TOCA, I think it was TOCA Race Driver, the very first game, one of the secret cars was a Koenig C62, which is essentially the same thing. That is in that game. And even recently, Forza added the Chopin 962 road car, which is a hideous looking thing in my opinion. I've been fortunate enough to see that in person at Goodwood, one of those. Yeah, it's just, I think Rally is in such a weird place right now. It's like, I don't really know what they're trying to do, because they market the games with the bright colours and almost a childish feel, but then the actual physics feel like they're exclusively designed for a wheel. It's odd. Free Practice 3 has started. We're in P8, P9. For those who don't know, my girlfriend supports McLaren. Do with that what you will. And I haven't even left the garage. Oh, sad to hear though. Return of seasonal events. Yeah, it's funny because I always like to do the seasonals in Forza, but I don't think I've done any seasonals in Gran Turismo 7. I have a number of other jobs. Which racing game do I want remastered? I'd love to see Test Drive Unlimited remastered. That'd be cool. But I don't really have any hope for any of them being remastered anytime soon, to be honest. Oh, it was Dan Gurney. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm thinking of that name. New Dakar. I've actually never played a Dakar game. I think I own one. Because I think there was a Paris to Dakar rally game on the PlayStation 2, if I recall correctly, and I think I own it, but I've never played it. John Surtees, yeah, might be the one I'm thinking of, I'm not sure. Group 2, I don't race Group 2 that often. What's in Group 2 now? Oh, the CLK is in Group 2, isn't it? That's a very nice car. And the McLaren Longtail is very good. I actually like the McLaren more than the Mercedes, at least in terms of how it drives. Yeah, the Chopin is such a weirdly shaped car. It looks like they took a Dower and melted it. It's a weird looking thing. Crazy animal videos. 4x4 truck. See, you can always rely on Ness, guys, for knowing what I haven't done. Ness is for me what I am for Polyphony. That's harsh, but no, I appreciate it. Crazy animal videos, yeah, I don't plan to do more. That was kind of a test to see if it did well. 4x4 World Trophy, I've got a list of the vehicles that I need to do. Honestly, I'll probably never get around to it. I really want to do PS2 racing game reviews, but it's always the same problem, capturing in without the black bars. I guess technically these days that isn't as much of a problem, because now on YouTube you can watch in cinema mode, which makes the sides black anyway. So, it's me, Craig. Yeah, that's cool, Sonic. Honestly, I don't pay much attention to my friends list, to be honest, because if I did, I wouldn't get anything else done. Vauxhall versus Opel. I mean, Vauxhall. I have no skin in the game, so sure, Vauxhall. Yeah, tell me about it, Pedro. Exactly. Forza 2 and Forza 4, even as a Gran Turismo fan. In fact, any of you who are watching this, if you're disillusioned with Gran Turismo Sport or Gran Turismo 7, get yourself an Xbox 360. Please forget what you think you know about Forza. Forget that it even says Forza on the box. Please do yourself the favour, do me the favour of trusting me. Play Forza 2 and then Forza 4 and just experience what Gran Turismo used to be and what Forza used to be. Forget having to pick a side. You don't have to pick a side. There's so much that you're missing out on if you haven't played it. They're really, really fun. And the career mode in those games is massive. WC, yeah, the hypercar class is looking very cool. Bentley's thinking about doing it. The Peugeot is the one that I'm looking forward to the most from a technological standpoint, although I'm going to be supporting Cadillac. Any new novels? Thanks. The Room with Sand, yeah, that's a room called Sin. That's here on YouTube. I do have a couple of novel ideas, but I haven't started writing them yet. Because the way that I write novels is I have to write down a backbone of every major point that's going to happen. Because I'm always good at thinking of an ending and a beginning, but then it's the middle where I start to meander. So I need to know exactly where the story's going to go, and then I need to bang out that story over a week maximum. Otherwise, it won't ever get done. So I need to finalise everything I want in the story, and then I'll do it. But I'm not exactly sure what the next one's going to be, or even when. It could be years away. Any tips for someone buying their first used sports car? Looking at buying a 2000s Porsche Boxster. Well, my friend, the Porsche Boxster is the only car I've ever crashed. I crashed it at the start of 2021. I was driving back from London in a Porsche Boxster in the snow. Car spun out. I was facing the traffic. Put my head through the driver's side window and knocked myself out. Totally fine, as you are. And but in general, tips for buying a used sports car. My biggest tips for buying a sports car, I think, would be the same as my tips for buying any car, or at least any performance car. Look for a car with the least amount of owners, because if it's changed hands a lot, that presents two problems. One, if it's changed hands a lot, that usually means it's got a problem that nobody wants to fix. And B, if you don't own a car for that long, you don't get to know it. So if you don't get to know it, you're not invested in it. People will just say, oh yeah, just move it on, sell the problems to the next person. Get a car with an owner that's had it for a long time, few owners if possible, look for service history, look for receipts, because that means the person has cared for the car. Aside from that, just general wear and tear isn't too much of a problem as long as the car's been loved. So, and if you can, try and find out why the person is getting rid of it. Because with a sports car, usually somebody would get rid of it because they want something better or something faster. If they're not selling it to upgrade it, then you should start being, you should start thinking, okay, why am I getting rid of this? So unless there's some medical reason or a family reason, if somebody's just selling a sports car randomly out of the blue with no good reason, that's a red flag. Thoughts on Enthusia? I do have Enthusia. I've played it a little bit. Pretty cool. It's got stuff like the smart cars in there. Saab is in there. It could have been a fantastic Gran Turismo 4 rival. It's actually more like a Gran Turismo game than Forza is. Enthusia is by far the closest thing to Gran Turismo of any other game. I never fully got into it. Career mode is not as well structured as Gran Turismo, and it's a bit too linear in my opinion, but I would love to see a second game. Can I do more skits like the pharmacy video? Yes, Lil Bubba, I will be doing more. But I don't know when. Ness is to me what I'm to believe. Yeah, I know it's not quite the same, but you know what I mean, mate. Keeping me in check, and I appreciate it. Plus, I love the fandom that you have, because your fandom of the work that I do is what I'm like with Rhett and Link and the channels I love, so I know exactly where it comes from. It's a place of love, and I love it. If only Polyphony could see that. Honestly, yeah. Most racing games these days are a big letdown, in my opinion. And I know we've passed the hour-and-a-half mark, but yeah. Yes, picking sides is completely pointless. I actually did an entire video about why, I think it was called something like Why Forza vs Gran Turismo is Dumb. It was called something like that. Need for Speed. I really don't care about Need for Speed at this point, to be honest. They seem to be all over the place in terms of remaking games and making new games. Just make a Underground 3. Everybody's happy. Yeah, the Cadillac does sound mean. And I've heard from, I believe it was the test driver, he said it actually handles basically exactly the same as a Daytona prototype, so it was very easy to work with because he was used to it. So that sounds cool. I think the interesting the interesting thing about the hypercar class is, at least from what it looks like in testing, one of the things that excites me about it, because I really wasn't excited about the hypercars initially, is it looks like the rules are actually allowing for quite an interesting amount of variation. Because if you compare the Cadillac, which kind of looks and feels like just a higher tier Daytona car, then compare that to the Peugeot. The Peugeot is like nothing else on the grid. That is what I want from racing. I want variation. I don't want cars that just all feel like a rebodied version of the same thing. Forza 4 does have delisted DLCs. Honestly, though, even without the DLC, you can still have a ton of fun with the game. There's still a ton of fantastic cars. There's still hundreds and hundreds of cars in that game, even without DLC. I think there's something like 400 or 500 cars. And Forza 2 actually has so many cars that the newer Forza games doesn't have. Forza 2 has stuff like the Chrysler ME412. And my favourite car in the game, it's the only game I'm aware of to have it, the Seat supercar, the Seat Cupra GT. Yumi and Ness can race together. Maybe. I don't know, mate. I don't race online much. Chevy Astro. Well, yeah, I didn't crash it because I was driving it in a crazy way. I was actually taking the car, I was delivering the car on behalf of a dealership for somebody to test drive, and then I was literally just driving it home on the motorway. And I was just driving along. It was coming out of London. They'd salted the roads, but it was also starting to snow because it was in January. And I was just, cruising along in this Porsche. Roof was up, obviously. Not that it really makes any difference to safety. And I just felt the back end of the car lift. And then it started to slowly drift to the left. And I really slowly adjusted it to the right. And it just started drifting to the right. I tried to straighten up again. And it was one of those things where you're now watching your own life like a movie. You're out of control. There's nothing I can do at this point. So then it just started sliding. And then it just carried on turning at 60 miles an hour or so. And the last thing I remember was facing 3 lanes of traffic backwards. And then I think what must have happened is when you turn off of a motorway or turn off of a highway, sometimes you'll have a road that goes like down and off with like a grass verge, like a triangle. I think what must have happened, because I turned all the way to the left and, knocked it out of gear. When the car slid around, I was still facing left. So then obviously, because the wheels were left, it must have got grip again, and then obviously the wheels being that way would make it swing back that way. And I think what happened when it swung back that way, I think the front wheels went in and out of the grass, which must have bounced my head into the glass, because my head smashed the driver's side window, and then the back end went into the centre of the highway, the concrete divide, and Back to the Future, the wheels up underneath the car. And I was knocked out for probably 15-20 minutes. The next thing I remember was somebody saying at the window, "Are you okay, mate?" And then when I opened my eyes, all the traffic had stopped. There was a traffic guy parked across the motorway with his sirens on. And you can't do that quickly. So I was knocked out for quite a while. They did a scan on me because I blacked out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was all fine in the end. I was very lucky. Do I write music? No, I don't. I'm actually not musically gifted at all. I used to be super into beatboxing. I can still do it to some degree, but that's about the closest I get to music. Never fully got into Ridge Racer, to be honest, or Burnout. BMW, I don't like the Beamer. I hate the massive... excuse me. I hate the massive BMW grille. Modern Koenigs. Yeah, modern Koenigs would be pretty cool. I feel like there would be a danger of them being a little bit like Mansory, and I really don't like Mansory. Bonus rejected. Yeah, I've crashed a Porsche Boxster. I've been thrown over the front of a BMW S1000 RR. Which was the fault of the moron dealer because he left the chain across the entrance and it almost decapitated me. Scraping the Maserati. Well, scraping the Maserati was my own fault, to be fair. And also because the rear view, or not the rear view, the parking sensors weren't working. But yeah, fun stuff. My favourite food, curry. Just any type of curry. Absolutely love curry. But I also like mixing stuff, so I like combining like Indian and Italian. So I'll have like a curry, but I'll put it on pasta. Stuff like that. I need a Land Rover. Funny you should say that. I reviewed a Range Rover SVR. One of my favourite cars I've ever reviewed. Fantastic. And I did used to have an SUV. My first car was an SUV. The Touareg V10. The weirdest car I have in Gran Turismo, I mean, I don't know. I guess whatever the weirdest car in the game is. So whatever you categorise that as. They're in P7 now. Hello, Bubba. Cool, cool. And yeah, the Jay Leno tank car is one of the first one that comes to mind. Just woke up in the US. Thanks, bud. I guess that is the problem, actually, because of the time that I started. It's only like 6 o'clock in the morning for much of the States, I think. So maybe I will stay on a bit longer. What I could do, actually, I could leave the live stream on and like grab some food and then come back, but we'll see. DTM is starting. Nice one. Go and enjoy that, mate. Thanks for the congrats and thanks for stopping by. Do I still make rivals? Well, a couple of people asked that. I'm going to be doing a rivals match for the Formula 1 cars in GT7. Apart from that, I haven't done any in quite a while. I feel like there probably are one or two others that I could do. One of the problems that I have with that, though, is I've been a bit apprehensive of doing rivals matches in GT Sport and GT7 because of the nature of the updates. Because I could do a rivals match, and then down the line we could get an update with a perfect third rival, or a perfect, whatever rival, and then have to essentially remake the episode, and I just don't really want to do that. Lexus or modern BMW? I actually don't mind the Lexus grille. It kind of looks like an hourglass. To me, the BMW grills just scream of compensating. Like, oh, I'm driving a BMW. Like, somebody needs to tell people that doesn't mean what it used to mean. Like, back in the day, if you drove a Beamer, that meant something. Not anymore. A Kia Stinger is as good as most Beamers these days. Would I eat a curry pizza? I don't know. Never tried it. I love pizza as well. Maybe. I guess curry pizza is kind of like putting curry on a naan. I think it's close enough. It's doughy. What historic circuit would I like to drive? You already know the answer to that. Nordschleife. Apart from the Nordschleife, though, I would love to drive on... I would actually, maybe even more than the Nürburgring, to be honest. I would really love to drive on Sebring. I don't know what it is about Sebring. I just really like that circuit. To me, I'd love to drive a Panos Roadster, the Le Mans Roadster, at Sebring. That would just be such a cool day out. The Slant Nose Turbo, never liked that one. Diablo, I actually do like the Diablo with the ZX headlamps. Pop-ups are cool, but I think the Nissan lights, I think, really suit it. Never fully got into the Juice games. I played a little bit of Juiced. I'm not sure if I even played Juiced 2. I think I own both of them. I love the idea of Juiced. Hi, Stephen. And thanks. Cool to see you from Australia. P6, P9, baby! Nice one, little Bubba. Yeah, exactly. I mean, driving a Beamer now is like driving an Audi. It just means you don't know what speed limits are, you don't know what indicators are, and you're always up someone's backside when you're driving. Yeah, she is watching F1. Or she's always watching F1. She'd never miss it. Beards and Cars, the podcast. I mean, maybe... Oh, thanks Geets. Hope you're doing well. Been a fan, 3-year subscriber. Which car would win a sprint between a 488 or a Senna? Well, if we're talking real life, the Senna would destroy the Ferrari, I'm pretty sure. I would personally much rather have the Ferrari. Or, no, I'd have the McLaren and I would sell it immediately and use the money. But I prefer that. I already know that I'd like driving the Ferrari more. But thank you for your donation. That's really cool. So yeah, to answer the podcast thing, maybe. I don't really call it a podcast anymore because the episodes are more like 20, 30 minutes. So it's more just... Because like a couple of days ago, I did that episode about the state of Gran Turismo 7. And that was kind of a Beards and Cars podcast vibe. Hi, Bobby. Yeah, that's Super Formula. Well, the Super Formula, I don't think really suits that showdown because although it might be similar in performance, the Super Formula might actually be quicker, but it's not a fair showdown. That would kind of be like putting a 70s Le Mans car up against like a modern hypercar. It's not really fair. Thanks, Eric. Drove your RX-7 at the Nordschleife. Nice. Yeah, I bet it did shake a lot. Because I'm imagining that if you've got an RX-7, it probably isn't standard. I would actually love... What would I take around the Nordschleife? Well, I definitely wouldn't take my own car. Because as the saying goes, the fastest car in the world is a rental. So I would take a rented car. And what would I love to take around there? I think I'd love to take something like maybe a Chiron, because then it would still be really comfortable, but you'd get that actual chance to really feel ultimate performance, but still be comfortable and still feel like the car is in control and that you're safe. Interestingly, Antoine, I haven't watched either. I hate to say it. I love Le Mans 66, the more recent one, Ford v Ferrari. I love, what's it called? The James Hunt, Niki Lauda one. With Chris Hemsworth. Oh, what was that called? I'm forgetting what it's called. It was relatively recent. Those are my two favourite, Jeets. Those are my two favourite car movies, but I haven't watched the Le Mans ones yet. Rush, that's the one, Ness. Better say Senna. I did say Senna, little baba. Which car screams, I'm a rich kid with no taste? If you'd have asked me in the 2000s, I would have said a Ferrari F430. What would that be the equivalent of now? I feel like the advantage of being a rich kid now is if you buy any car, chances are it's going to be pretty good. Like even if you see some rapper in a Bugatti, it's still a Bugatti and that's still cool. So I don't really know. I'd probably say somebody who buys like the latest BMW M4. You know, like with the stupid big nasal grille, because they just bought it because it's the new thing. My favourite... Oh, PewDiePie's in the chat. Of course he is. How's it going, bros? My name's PewDiePie. My favourite vehicle... you see, you didn't say car. My favourite vehicle is the Y2K Superbike. My favourite car is the Ferrari FF. Thoughts on WRX and Evo? Well, bud, I owned an Evo. I've never owned a Subaru and I don't plan to. Thoughts on the Hennessy? I could not care less about Hennessy after they were dogging on the SSC Tuatara online. They were throwing so much shade. Meanwhile, the Tuatara did another speed run and is still faster than the Hennessy Venom has been so far. So, yeah, and plus from what I hear, John Hennessy is a bit sketchy with his business practices. So, yeah, I prefer the Venom GT, to be honest, over the F5. So many people just saying, rush, rush, rush. Yeah, Panamera would be great on the Nordschleife. Yeah. And yes, Daniel Bruhl should have got an Oscar. Daniel Bruhl's a great actor. I always like seeing him pop up. He's great as Baron Zemo as well in Marvel. You're a rich kid with no taste. Well, have you got a BMW M4? I mean, I picked a name, you know. I picked a name. I don't think, as I kind of answered, I don't think there is one car like that anymore. I'm not a huge fan of seeing people drive whatever's just come out. Because although I get it, I also have no time for it. And that's just a preference thing. You know, none of my favourite cars are brand new. They're all cars from like the 2000s and as far back as whatever. Free roaming. We kind of already spoke about that one, so I won't get super into it. Could they? Yes. Will they? I don't think so. Unfortunately, I think they only have interest in like organised motorsport. Favourite Pikes Peak car? Ooh. My favourite Pikes Peak. I feel like there are so many that I don't know. I think, is it I want to say Peterbilt, but it might be a Mack. Or it might be a Kenworth. Oh, it's Kenworth. I think it's a Kenworth. There's a Kenworth Pikes Peak truck with like 2,000 horsepower. That thing's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know if I have a favourite Pikes Peak car. Not that I can think of. Yeah. I don't know. Suzuki Coltus, maybe. The Scudo's too obvious. Yeah, GTRs are kind of a rich kid car. Not so much anymore, but my least favourite car I've ever driven. My least favourite car. I would say, I think there are two ways of answering that. My least favourite car I've ever driven, one of them is disappointing because I expected better of it, and that was my review of the Mercedes ML55 AMG. Wasn't an awful car, it just really doesn't compare to the Cayenne or my Touareg. The most disappointing car, just in terms of being completely forgettable, was probably the Audi S3. Well, I remember nothing about driving that car. It was just totally forgettable, and I guess I'm not the only one because it barely has any views. Spiker, tell me about it, bud. Spiker is one of my favourite brands, up there with Koenigsegg and Pagani. I absolutely love Spiker. As far as I'm concerned, Spikers are pieces of art with a steering wheel. I absolutely love them. One of my dream cars would be a Spiker, probably in a Leron. And my favourite Spiker of all is the D8 concept, the big Spiker SUV. Maserati GT. Well, I've owned two Quattroportes, both very good. And I will say, the Quattroporte feels a lot more unique to drive than the Gran Turismo does. The Gran Turismo definitely looks better. And if I could have a third Maserati, it would be a Gran Turismo, just because I've already had Quattroportes. But they're both really good. They're essentially the same thing, to be honest. Just one has 2 doors and one has 4. That's, you know, same engine, same gearbox. It's pretty much the same thing underneath. Spiker is not still around, unfortunately, and really unfortunately, neither is Mosler. Mosler went bankrupt in 2013, which is a real shame. Spiker, yeah. Although I believe there was a guy, maybe still is, who bought Spiker, a billionaire, and they were planning to build the one that I was talking about, the D8, because there were 2 versions. There's the D12, which had a Volkswagen W12 engine, and then they made the D8, which had a Cadillac V8 with 640 horsepower. That would just be awesome. What actor could have fit the role of Christian Bale? Well, Christian Bale, in my opinion, is the greatest actor of all time. So I wouldn't want to see anyone in that role instead. I know people said Daniel Day-Lewis, but Christian Bale literally went from playing The Machinist to a year later, Batman Begins. Google The Machinist if you haven't seen it and look what he looks like. He lost so much weight that his butt muscles fell out of their sockets. So yeah, I would say no one, to be honest. I can't think of another actor who could have fit the role. Because he doesn't really look that much like the guy, but it doesn't really matter if you're a good actor. Is rally suspension good for rear-wheel drive cars? Building a speed tune, I don't use rally suspension on speed tunes. It's way too like bouncy. You wallow around too much. but it can be good on lower level cars that you want to get a lot of power on in a lower class, like A-Class. I do plan to review the Alpine A220 at some point. Have I played Hot Wheels? No, I haven't played Hot Wheels in a long time. Who's better, Mercedes or Beamer? It depends what you're talking about. If you're talking diesel technology, I might give it to Beamer. If you're talking building cars overall, I'd say Mercedes. The time that I really realised that Mercedes was back on their game was right after I passed my test. I hired a Mercedes A-Class, an A180D, the modern A-Class, 2019 shape. And I thought, you know what, this is Mercedes again. Have I heard of the Centura? Yes, I have. It's on my list for the Unsung Heroes series. Hello from Greece. Hello back at you, bud. And thank you for the congrats. Which manufacturer will shut down next? Ooh. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, I really don't know. Best car for a long trip across the EU. Ooh, if I could have any car for a long distance road trip. Well, I'm going to assume that by a long trip, you mean taking someone with me, Kiasha, obviously, taking luggage. I might have to just go my dream car, I think. Ferrari FF. It's perfectly suited for it. What's my dream car? My dream car is the Ferrari FF. Yeah, butt muscles fell out of their sockets. Literally, yeah. I mean, if you look up the interviews with him. And it was all because of a misprint. They wanted him to lose 16 pounds, and somebody wrote 60. So he lost so much weight, it was ridiculous. I think he was eating 1 apple and water a day. And then he was Batman. Do I like... I haven't actually tried the Tomahawk. I heard that the glitch was back, but I haven't really tried it. Yeah, the Machinist is fantastic. I believe a problem with the Machinist as well is it often gets overshadowed by Memento, which, controversially, I've never liked Memento. I adore the Machinist, and people should check out that movie. Lycan Hypersport. I get the car, you know, it's cool, it's got a roof engine, it's famous from Fast and Furious. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would rather have something like Gumpert than Lycan. Matt Damon and Christian Bale, yeah, they were fantastic. They're fantastic. Yes, he was fantastic in Thor 4. I was actually disappointed with the movie overall, but yes, he was fantastic in it. But yeah, Christian Bale is he's crazy versatile. I will say, he also seems to be the kind of person that if you heard on the news that Christian Bale had murdered someone, I wouldn't be surprised. He just has that kind of vibe. Kind of like Michael Shannon. He has that vibe as well. But great actors. I think, much like Kevin Spacey, a lot of the best actors are kind of a little bit unhinged in real life as well. My first hypercar, Veyron. Bugatti Veyron, for sure. My favourite hypercar is the SSC Ultimate Aero, which is very undervalued these days. A lot of people don't even think about that car anymore. But if I could actually own one, it would be a Veyron. Is the future electric? Yes, almost certainly. There are some other options like hydrogen, but electric seems like the best option. It doesn't... Oh, I hit the mic. It doesn't make me sad because at least for many years, hopefully, we'll still have all the used car market. And most of my cars are already from the used car market anyway, like my own cars that I've had. So as long as those are still around, I won't be too sad. Have I ever regretted buying a car? Yeah, I kind of regretted buying the Evo recently. But even then, I can still say I've had an Evo now. So even then, it's not bad. I've never owned a bad car. You know, I've been very fortunate in that way. I've owned some that didn't work out, but the car itself was still cool. So no, I've never regretted it in that sense. Best first car. If I was going to buy a first car again, I would buy exactly the same as what I did buy, which is a Touareg V10. which makes no sense as a first car. But my biggest advice, I was talking to a guy at a car show the other day, a young guy. My advice for anyone who's younger especially, try if you can to get a diesel and try and buy a car that an older person would buy. Not an old person, but an older. So something like a diesel Passat or a diesel Skoda Octavia. Young people don't buy cars like that, and because of that, the history of the car, the crash history of that model overall, is really good. If you, on the other hand, try to get like a Fiesta ST, the car has a reputation. If you try and have an Evo, the car has a reputation. So get a car that young people don't buy. And then also, you can kind of game the system by buying a diesel, because diesels have great torque, surprisingly good performance. It'll be super cheap to run because of how good the economy is, so you can floor the car if you want to, and you'll still have good economy. And you'll have a car which more often than not offers you a lot more than what a little boy racer's car would. It just doesn't come off as obvious of a choice. So my advice, in other words, is think outside the box. Don't buy what young people buy. What do I think of TVRs? I love TVRs. I don't think I'll ever get one because I'm really not a fan of manual gearboxes. I know. But I do love them. Speed 12 is great. I love the Tamora. I love the Chimera. Thoughts on Gt7 Physics? I mean, the physics are the least of my concerns in that game, to be honest. They're fine. My favourite Gran Turismo physics are in GT5 still. Best cheap cars to have till the end of my life. A boring one and a dream one. Well, I mean, again, I've never owned a boring car. So it would depend what you define as a boring one. If I was going to go for a car that was just, you know, a car, I'd probably get like a 3-litre diesel Touareg, like a newer shaped Touareg. And then my dream car, on the other hand, well, if I've already got the Touareg as a daily driver, I think I'd probably get like, maybe a Veyron. Yeah, maybe a Veyron, maybe a Ferrari FF, but it's kind of also a daily driver. But yeah. I don't know what you mean, PewDiePie, about Tom Hanks. Is he not a good actor to work with? I haven't heard that. Liam Neeson seems like a cool dude. It was also cool how he got fired from being a teacher because he punched a student in the face. Because the student pulled a knife in class. Liam Neeson seems like the kind of guy who could get pretty angry when he's angry. But yeah, he's very tall as well, I believe. How much... well, interesting you should ask that about the SSC Ultimate Aero. I've only ever seen one for sale. It was a few years ago. I think you can still Google this. It was a blue and white one. And it sold for $225,000. Which is ridiculously cheap. And the thing that people forget about the Ultimate Aero is, to this day, it's still one of the fastest accelerating cars ever made. Because everyone just talks about the top speed. Yeah, 258 miles an hour, it just about beat the Veyron, but then the Veyron Super Sport beat it again. Forget that. The real badass thing about the Ultimate Aero is that the Veyron does 0 to 200 miles an hour in 24 seconds. The SSC Ultimate Aero does 0 to 200 in 15 seconds. 9 seconds faster than a Veyron is ridiculous from the same time period. That's absolutely bonkers. And I love that. And yeah, I know he's not the real PewDiePie. Favourite classic car that still looks modern? Well, I mean, I think my car looks pretty good these days. The 68 Lincoln, that still looks pretty modern. I mean, it doesn't, but, you know, it puts a smile on everyone's face. How many cars? I've got 2 cars at the moment. My daily driver is a Mark V Golf R32, and my fun car is a 1968 Lincoln Continental Coupe, the 2-door. I do love PewDiePie. He's also one of my inspirations. Not so much when he's going over bridges, but... yeah, I've been seeing a lot more Porsche Taycans. A lot of people are preferring the Audi now. You know, the Audi that's built on the same platform. I still prefer the Porsche. Porsche really has been that brand for me that since I've been reviewing cars, my love for Porsche has just exploded. Again, hot take. In my opinion, Porsche is the best car manufacturer on the market. Period. Chevy Colorado diesel. Exactly. See, think out the box. Get something like a diesel truck. Yes, absolutely. The new CCX. Oh, do you mean the CC850? Very cool. I love that Koenigsegg did that. And I also think it's awesome that the car has a manual gearbox, but it goes into full automatic mode when you want to. I love that. I really love what Koenigsegg is doing with their transmission technology, from the Regera to this. So much for an hour and a half stream. Ness's favourites are Gran Turismo 1, 3 and 5. I already knew you loved 3 especially. Yeah, my favourites are probably, funnily enough, 2, 4 and 6. Yeah, I believe they only made like 6 Dower 962s, maybe 9 of them, I'm not sure. But yeah, very cool car. And with the low aero setup, it should be capable of like 253, 254 miles an hour. Oh, right. I thought you meant that Tom Hanks was like difficult to work with or something. But yeah, he's a fantastic actor. Well, actually, no, I don't love Saving Private Ryan, but it's a very good movie. I do really like The Green Mile. But yeah, as you can kind of tell, I'm a big movie fan as well. Bonjour from France. Cool to see people from all over the place joining. You say that, Evolution, about that green Dower with the yellow stripes. One of the coolest things, I've got an issue of Classic and Sports Car magazine from like 2004. In that issue, there was that car for sale, like in the classified ads section, and it was literally next to a CLK GTR for sale in silver, and the only Ferrari F50 GT just sat there in a car ad, just the bright red Ferrari F50 GT, and obviously none of them had prices, they were all POA, but it was like an ultra luxury car, top marks kind of car dealership. There have been some incredible cars I've seen for sale in that magazine. I've seen a Mosler MT900 for sale in there. It's been crazy stuff. But yeah, that was bonkers seeing those for sale. Thanks, Lance, to jump to the bottom of the chat. I didn't know there's a Centura. Most driven car in any GT. I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember at this point. I think there's probably a pretty strong chance that it's the Pagani Huayra in Gran Turismo 6, because I did hundreds of thousands of miles of Route X racing. Do I plan to test drive 4x4s or trucks? I have already reviewed some 4x4s and trucks. I reviewed the Ram, Touareg, Jaguar F-Pace, but no, I haven't taken them off-road. I might do that. I don't know. I have no immediate plans, but it'd be cool. Thanks, Beetlejuiced. Thanks for dropping by. Have a good one. Do I plan on getting a pet? I used to have a pet. Had a dog called Biscuit. He was an American Staffordshire Terrier, or an American Staffy, as we call it in the UK. Most Americans would probably just call him a pit bull. But like pit bulls usually have like the pointed ears. He had the floppy ears. Lovely dog, massive feet. He was brown with a white bib, white socks, and the biggest softie you've ever met. And how much did he weigh? I think he weighed 45 kilos. So he was a big boy. His head was like that big next to me. He was a big dog. His bed was... his dog bed was for a German Shepherd. That's how big he was. So, for a pit bull, very big. But if I could get another pet, Kiasha knows this, I would love a capybara. Or either a capybara or a fennec fox. Or a chihuahua. And I could put it in a little man bag. Favourite modern muscle car? Well, depends how modern you want to go. I mean, Vauxhall VX R8 or the Holden R8. I like them quite a bit. I might be getting one. Aside from that, probably the Camaro ZL1, like around the 2009-ish shape. The first of the new ZL1s. G'day from Australia. Right back at you, mate. Shizetta or Diablo? Well, anyone who knows cars knows that's a trick question, because that's basically just Diablo or Diablo. But of course, I prefer the Shizetta, the only V16 engine supercar ever made. Lotus Carlton, absolute legend of a car. Respect it. Never really cared for it that much, though. Sad that Top Gear's dead. Yeah, none of the other Top Gears seem to really quite have the same spark. And it's interesting because the Grand Tour doesn't quite seem to capture the spark either for some people, which is a shame. But yeah, it is a shame. Top Gear was great. Lightning in a bottle. Greetings from Iceland. Cool, cool. Greetings right back at you. Subaru fan, I'm guessing. A favourite Nissan Z? No, to be honest, I don't have a favourite. I'm not a huge fan of the Z. Don't dislike it. I've reviewed a 370Z on the channel. It was a good car. But, yeah. I don't have any immediate plans to do other cash cow events, to be honest. But I guess we'd have to see. Like, I'm not saying I won't do it, but I have no immediate plans to do it. Yeah, I mean, everyone loved Biscuit. He was an awesome dog. He only lived to 5. We had to have him put down. He had colitis in his stomach, which meant he had a really sensitive diet. We ended up having to feed him plain rice and mincemeat, so it was very expensive. And his quality of life just started going down, so yeah, we had to put the big boy down. But he had a good life. And he was a very good dog. Camaro ZL. Yeah, I like the ZL one. I remember when I first saw a Camaro at Goodwood, like the initial production version, and thinking about how massive it looked at the time. Would I like to test an old Range Rover? I'm not a Land Rover or Range Rover kind of guy, which is why the SVR surprised me so much. But I don't know. Yeah, I know he's in Toy Story, yeah. Well, he's in loads of stuff, Tom Hanks, but yeah. Would I buy a Volvo or a Saab? Well, from the 90s to the 2000s, probably not, to be honest. My dad had a Volvo. He had a 1977 Volvo 244DL, which he absolutely loved. I loved the Volvo 242 Turbo Evolution, the really rare rally one. But to me, that is the era that I would like of Volvo or Saab. Or maybe like a Saab 99 Turbo, you know, the super old school one. Favourite Top Gear episode? I don't really have a favourite episode. I like some of the challenges. For me, it was more favourite moments. So I love the Panamera Quattroporte Rapide Showdown. But I love the episode where they had the Ascari A10 on because it was such a unicorn car. I love the episode where James May drove the Cadillac 16. So it's more like moments that I love rather than full episodes. I don't know Burnout Revenge enough to have an answer to that one. Thoughts on the Dodge Monaco? Well, Ness, as you know, I almost bought a Dodge Monaco. Before getting the Lincoln, I was actually looking at getting a gold 1976, I think it was, Dodge Monaco. Always loved the Dodge Monaco, thanks to Driver San Francisco. One of my favourite cars in the game to drive. But, yeah, just didn't work out. And I don't regret it not working out, because I absolutely love Abe, my Lincoln. Honest Abe. Life goals or dreams? I don't really have a set goal for the channel because of two things. One, I think it's a good way of being disappointed if it either takes too long or doesn't happen. And two, if you have a goal like that and then reach it, where do you really go from there? You could kind of burn out or be disappointed. So, I guess as a general goal, it would be awesome to pass 1 million, you know, like anyone would want to with the channel. But I have goals, I guess. I mean, life goals, I'm not going to get into all of them, obviously, but some life goals would be, I mean, I'd love to own my dream car at some point, obviously. As far as dream cars go, the Ferrari FF isn't as crazy as some. It's about 100 grand, which obviously is a significant amount of money, but it's a lot cheaper than many people's dream car. Within the channel, some of my dream goals would be I'd love to review a Bugatti Veyron in Beards and Cars. Yeah, I guess those are some of the main ones. I don't tend to have too many huge goals like that. To me, my goals tend to be more close. Stuff that I can achieve all the time. But I guess a goal of mine would also be, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'd love to put a turbine engine into a car. I would love to make a kit car of some kind. I'd love to make like a kit car of a Chaparral 2J that's road legal. Obviously the fan system wouldn't work. I'd love to create my own supercar. That's never going to happen. I would love, actually, massive life goal for me. Also, I don't think it will happen, but I'd love to make a racing game. I'd like to make a racing game that is very much like a 2000s era game, but using the advantage of the modern console power. Vintage cars. Depends on what you classify as vintage. I'd think of vintage as being like the 40s or before. I don't really know. I almost reviewed a vintage car, actually. See you in a bit, Ryoko. Thanks for dropping by. I almost reviewed a replica of the 1886 patent motor wagon. You know, the three-wheel, like, park bench with an engine that was in Gran Turismo 4. I almost reviewed that in real life for Beards and Cars. That would have been very cool, but somebody bought it, so I couldn't. Thanks, Sabik, for the congrats. I have zero plans for making Assetto Corsa content. I'm not an Assetto Corsa fan. I don't like it. Or at least I didn't like the first one. What would I say about NSX or Evora? Evora, couldn't care less. The NSX, I like the newest one. I think it's a shame that the NSX, it's kind of fallen into a similar camp to what the original NSX is, which is people just didn't really buy them. I've only ever seen a couple of NSXs on the road, like the new ones, but I think they're really cool. And honestly, I would much rather have a new NSX than a GTR. To me, it's a way cooler car. But I could definitely see the NSX becoming kind of like the next Lexus LFA, like that car that just kind of disappears and then people realise how good they were, that they missed the chance, and then prices, I think, will skyrocket. James May, I know James May and Hammond are doing content on, they have their own stuff that they do, but they also do content on, what's it called? Let me check Instagram. I think I would have had it in one of my tags, maybe. Where would it be? Drive Tribe. That's the one. They do stuff on Drive Tribe. Like rating YouTubers' cars and stuff. Be cool to have the link in on that eventually. Not like that's going to happen anytime soon. What do we like to do? Well, we both enjoy Gran Turismo. She's an awesome girlfriend in that sense. We basically both love cars. We both love gaming. We both love many of the same things. We both love food. Me sometimes a little bit too much. But yeah. Our our fandoms and our preferences are very much aligned. Yeah, the specials are very cool. Ferrari FF versus the Maserati. Well, obviously I haven't driven an FF. I've only ever driven one Ferrari, which was the F355, which was fine. The FF could certainly disappoint me, but I don't know. I don't know. And yes, the NSX is very cool. I will be ending the stream in about 10 minutes, I think, because my throat's starting to get like... and plus that'll have been 2.5 hours, so I think that's enough. Plus people have things to do and we can't be on all day. My favourite Ferraris, well, obviously the FF is my number one. The 599 has actually grown on me quite a lot. I really like the California, especially the first shape California before the T. And I actually really like is it the 400i? I think the one that kind of looks like a Ferrari muscle car, super boxy. My next dream car under the Ferrari FF, interestingly, is half the price of an FF used, and that would be an Aston Martin Rapide. And then very close behind that, a Porsche Panamera GTS. Countach. I'm not a Countach fan. I know that's sacrilegious to say, so of them all, I'd have to go the newest, the 25th anniversary. Well, actually, I'm saying the newest. It's not even the newest anymore, is it? Because we've got that new one, which I really don't like. But I'd say the 25th. Gintani F1. No, I don't think I have heard of that. Do I like cats? Kiyashi knows what I was going to say then, and I'm not going to say it. Yes and no. I'm not a huge cat fan in general. But there are certain types of cats that I like. I love Sphinx cats, the hairless ones, because I think they look adorable. They're like little aliens. And I love is it Persian? I think it might be. Like, there's a couple of famous Instagram cats who have like that really like smushed up face, and they're super fluffy. And they don't act like other cats. Like, they seem super chill, really. Because that's what I don't like about cats. I don't like how mean they can be. I have no time for that. Whereas those cats seem quite chill. They almost seem like they're kind of disabled mentally, which is fine, because I think that's a nice attitude to have from a cat. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Ness. I'm not surprised. Plus, to be fair, I don't really do live streams, so a lot of people probably be like, huh? Or just, it's the weekend, people are out, whatever. Best BMW. Ooh, that's a difficult one. My favourite BMW is probably the i8, which was the first car I ever reviewed in real life. Love a start. But the best? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Because best is so subjective. You have to, what's best for one person isn't best for somebody else. Best Mercedes? For me, my favourite Mercedes is also one of my dream cars. It would be in my dream garage, a silver Mercedes SLR McLaren Roadster, the open-top version specifically. Did I know there was a Diablo? I didn't know it was for sale. I knew there was a Super GT Diablo, because obviously we had it in Gran Turismo. But no, I didn't know it was for sale. Which movie has the best car chases? Well, I guess Mad Max Fury Road has a pretty damn good chase. There's also a movie which I believe it was Steven Spielberg's first movie. I think it was a TV movie at the time, which I really like. The entire movie is a chase. It's called Duel, and it's about a guy just driving this like classic 70s, I think it's a 70s movie. He's driving, at the time, a new car, like a Dodge Monaco kind of thing, and he's just being chased by this truck with a driver that you never see. He's always obscured in shadow. And it's just a truck trying to kill him, basically. But it's like in the middle of like the Mojave, just endless roads. Very good movie. And you could tell that Spielberg was going to be a great movie maker. Frank Stevenson, I've heard the name, but no. Oh, actually, yes, the car designer. Yes, I've watched only 2 or 3 of his. Honestly, I had no idea that he designed so many cars that I love. He designed my favourite Maserati of all time, and possibly the most beautiful GT1 design, in my opinion, the Maserati MC12. And just, oh, what a shape. And what a distinctive colour as well, the blue and white. You couldn't mistake it for anything else. So yes, I have watched a couple of his videos. Seems like a very cool guy. Horizon type, we've discussed that a few times over the course of this, but I think it could be cool. Set it in Japan, but it's not going to happen. I'm so worried about TDU Solar Crown, to be honest. Yes, exactly what you said. It is a more streamlined approach. And I hate to say it, but I'm really getting like Project Cars 3 kind of vibes. For some reason, it almost, like the game almost looks like it's made of, just everything's plastic and shiny, and I don't know, it's like, remember when you were a kid and there was the Hot Wheels car, but then you could buy like a pack of 100 of these off-brand toy cars and they were just cheap plastic rubbish. The cars almost look like that, weirdly, in TDU Solar Crown. It's a shame. And the fact that they call it Solar Crown concerns me as well, because that means they are definitely taking more cues from the second game, which I never liked as much as the first one, but well, hold out hope. BMW Z8, don't like it. I do not like that car, and I never have. The only thing I like about it is the colour-coded interior, but yeah, I think it's a hideous-looking car, to be honest. My favourite BMW Z car is the Z1, which is such a weird-looking little thing with the doors that go down into the sills. It's just a weird, cool little wacky thing. Favourite video of 2021? Well, I mean, you've put Power versus Talk in my mind, so I mean that is one of my favourites. I'd have to look back. I don't even remember them all now. I know I did a video about it, but I don't remember half of what I do. That's the downside to putting out as many videos as I do. There's like 5,200 videos on the channel. I don't remember most of them. Thanks, Sonic. My favourite thumbnail, again, I don't remember most of those. I remember doing a Grand Theft Auto one with like a big Hulkbuster Iron Man. That one was pretty stupid. I remember I did a Koenigsegg coming to Gran Turismo fake trailer, or fake one. I think maybe my favourite one, if I recall correctly, was... Didn't I do one about Monaco? And the reason why that's my favourite is because that was like really screwing it to Polyphony, because they deliberately chose to put Monaco in multiple pieces of marketing. Both, they put the Bugatti Vision GT on Monaco, never happened, and in the Lamborghini Vision GT you can see Monaco through the windscreen, and we still haven't had it back. So that was kind of like a little dig at Polyphony. About 2 minutes left, and then I'll be shutting down the stream, folks. Congrats. Thanks, Aaron. I know of the Sard, yes, based on the Toyota. I believe it ran at Le Mans, but it wasn't fast enough. I seem to recall it wasn't even fast enough to qualify, if I remember correctly. Good luck, my friend. Thanks for stopping by, Namillion. Yeah, it was a Bond car, but so was a Citroen 2CV. Was it a live stream? Yeah, that sounds about right. Normal Hondas. Yeah, I couldn't care less about Honda Type Rs these days. I'm not a huge fan of them anyway. The two Hondas that I really like with Type R written on it are the DC5 and the DC2 Integras, neither of which I've driven yet. I've driven a couple. I've driven an FN2 Civic Type R and an FD2, and honestly I actually found them both a little bit disappointing. A hotel for the players? Yeah, don't like that. Yeah, see you in a bit, Ness. Thanks, Josh. I'm not a MotoGP fan. I'm not really a fan of many motorsports, but I am a bike fan, very much. And I think on that note, I'll end it there. So, thanks to those of you who did drop by. And thank you for all who were here and who weren't for 100k. And here's looking to whatever the next one will be. I don't know, maybe 200k? I don't know. I kind of don't really have a big one now. It's just, you know, see what happens. But yes, thank you all. I'll see you with another video tomorrow or whenever in the coming week. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.